Okay, chapter 4 summary and review. Get all of your materials and let's get started. So we're going to go over our basic terms. We need to remember what congruent means. It means exactly the same in every way, every angle, and every length of the sides when you're comparing shapes. Here's some of the congruency rules. That means we can name things congruent to triangles if they have these things in common. If they have 3 sides in common, the triangles are congruent. If they have 2 sides and the included angle, they're congruent. 2 angles and any matching side. And the right triangle if it has its hypotenuse in one of the sides. Here's us up closer, side, side, side. Angle, side, angle. Side, angle, side. You can name a triangle by its length of sides or by the angle inside of it. So if we're naming it by the sides, we can go name it equilateral if all 3 sides are the same. It's called a isosceles triangle if 2 sides are equal. And it's called a scalene triangle if no sides are equal. And then on the right, we could name a triangle by the angle. If it's a right angle, it's called a 90-degree, a right triangle. If it is acute, it's called an acute triangle. And if it has one obtuse angle, it is called the obtuse triangle. These are coordinates. You should have already learned this a long time ago, but just a refresher. This is our coordinate plane, and 0, 0 is called the origin. We have quadrant 1 with double positive x and y. We have quadrant 2 with a negative x and a positive y. We have quadrant 3 with a negative x and a negative y. And then we have a quadrant 4, positive x and negative y. And here on the right are examples of how you would plot those points. We'd have 1 or 2, 3. So positive x, positive y, and so on. You can use the coordinates to graph triangles or shapes. And you also can use the coordinates to find the distance between sides of a triangle. Here is an example of how to find the distance. This is the distance formula, and it calculates the distance d between 2 coordinates, x1 and xy and x2 and y2 on the xy coordinate plane. So if we're finding the distance between 3, 2 and 7, 5, this is how it would be done. So this little typo right here. This should say 7, 5. And so we would put our x2 value, which is 7, with our x1 value, 3, and subtract. We'd also take our y2 value, 5, and subtract our y2 or y1 value, 2. And so we would end up with 4 squared and 3 squared. Then we'd have 16 plus 9, which equals 25. We find the square root of 25, and the distance is 5. Let's remember how to bisect a line segment.
Okay, let's see how to bisect a line segment. So first you start off with a line, you put your endpoints, you label them, then you want to open up your compass to a distance that is about 3/4. Plant that in here. You're going to make, let me move my screen down. You're going to move an arc at the top, and while it's still connected to the bottom, make an arc at the bottom. Oops. Then you're going to grab this, keeping it at the same distance. Cross that. Oh, the top one didn't quite do it, so let's do it again. We got to go a little lower. There we go. Then we take our ruler and we line that up. And now we have bisected our line segment, and we have nice 90-degree angles.
We're also going to practice bisecting an angle.
Okay, now we're going to talk about how to bisect an angle. So if you start with an angle, what you're going to do is you're going to open your compass to about halfway to one of the legs. So you don't want it all the way out here, and you don't want it so tiny, so about halfway. So you're going to go all the way, actually I'm going to make it a little smaller, all the way across. And then you're going to take your compass and you are going to measure, see how it's not quite the distance all the way across. So you're going to measure the distance across from one ray to the other ray, okay? Once you've done that, you're going to pick up your compass and you're going to draw a little arc. Then you're going to take it and place that point there, draw an arc. And now you're ready to draw your line bisecting your angle. This is equal. Great job.
Okay, how to copy a line segment.
How to copy a line segment. So the first thing you need to do is start off by drawing a line that is longer than your current line segment. So I will just draw all the way out here to make sure that I am for sure past it. You take your compass and you are going to basically measure it by lining up your pencil and your, I don't know what this is called, the sharp part of your compass. And then you're going to place that on your line and give it an arc. And therefore you know that from this point to here, you have a line segment that is copied exactly.
And then how to copy an angle.
How to copy an angle. So the first thing you do is start off with a ray, add a vertex and an arrow, open up your compass to about halfway through one of the rays of that original angle, line up your point and draw an arc. And then you're going to do the same thing on the ray you just created. Then you're going to go back to your original ray or original angle, and you are going to measure the distance between where the arc touched both sides of your angle. So 1, and I need to bring it in a little bit, 2, maybe a little bit more. Lined up. Now, without adjusting your compass, you're going to take that over to your angle. Right now you have your ray. You're going to line up where that arc had crossed your ray, and you are going to create an intersecting arc. Place a point, connect your vertex with your new point, and you have the same angle. If you would like to measure it and be sure, you should and can line up your vertex and your baseline. And this is 53 degrees. And then you may check your second angle that you copied, line up your vertex and your baseline. And this is also 53 degrees. And that is how to copy an angle with a compass.
Okay, how to copy a triangle.
How to copy a triangle. Step 1, draw a line that is longer than your longest triangular line. Open up your compass to the size of the side of the triangle. Line this up with the end of the line that you just created. Draw an arc. Go to your next side, doesn't matter what order you do this in, and measure your third side of your angle. Go to the end of your arc that you just created. Put your point there. Draw an arc, sorry. And then open up your triangle or your compass to this side, last side of your triangle. Measure it. Move this over to your line and mark the arc. Put a point at this intersection and this intersection, and put a point at the end of your line that you used. Connect your dots or your points. And you have copied a triangle. Awesome.
Okay, great job. I hope you feel prepared for your test. If you have any questions, ask me in class or send me an email. Bye.